Hi everyone, and welcome to Jane Talks Real. It's Trek Tuesday, where I will be discussing and reviewing an episode of the original series, The Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, or Enterprise. Today I'm going to be looking at The Naked Now from The Next Generation's first season, or as I like to call it, that time Data got used as a sex doll. The episode begins with Enterprise heading for a science ship due to some really weird messages they've received that sound like a party interrupted by an explosion. Data says it's an emergency hatch being blown, so Riker takes most of the bridge crew with him to investigate, even though Worf says there are now no life signs aboard. The away team find the ship in disarray, with a monitor showing a hatch blown open like Data said, and Yar reports that everyone in engineering is frozen to death due to someone messing with environmental controls. Geordi confirms when he comes across a frozen orgy in someone's quarters and a corpse in the shower that falls on him. Question. If environmental controls were screwed with enough to freeze them to death, then how is the away team not all dead too, because there was no one alive to reset the controls? Riker reports to Picard that all 18 crew members are dead, and into the credits we go. Beverly has no theories about what happened, so Picard orders the away team to be recalled, decontaminated, and fully examined. Data is fine, and Geordi's scans come back normal, although he's acting strangely and complaining about the heat. Beverly confines him to sickbay, while Riker goes to talk to Data and just sits his ass down on a console. How many times has he accidentally butt-dialed a torpedo into space? He says he remembers a similar incident of someone dying while showering fully clothed, and asks Data to go through the records to find out more. Beverly has no idea what's wrong with Geordi, but he's not willing to stick around to wait for her to figure it out, and escapes while her back is turned. She calls security to find him, but he's with Wesley, who's doing a magic trick with a chair, and then he shows Geordi his recording of the captain so he can make believe he's on the bridge. Geordi loves it and touches Wes on the face. So now we have two infected. Tasha finds Geordi in the briefing room and orders the team to back her up. He begs for help and wants to be able to see, just like everyone else, and takes off his visor, touching Tasha's face, so now she's infected. Her team of one dude shows up and they take him to sickbay. Beverly says there's still nothing wrong with him despite how he looks, and says there's no chance the disease from the other ship is aboard. You sure about that, Doc? They ask Troy what she can sense, but she reckons he's drunk. Thanks for your input, Troy. Data is scanning the files and comes across the incident aboard Enterprise where Kirk is name dropped, and luckily McCoy put the formula for the cure in the file, so Picard sends it to Beverly. Troy goes to see Tasha, who is playing dress up in Troy's quarters because she likes her personal style, and Troy holds her hand, which not only affects her, but also makes this cloth disappear. She reports her findings to Picard, but I'm wondering why there's no mention in Kirk's report that the disease is transferred through physical contact. And even if Picard or Riker haven't read that far yet, Data would have. Picard tells Beverly to hurry up with the cure as she realises that Wesley is infected, and then we follow Yar's ass down the corridor as we see a bunch of rando crew members are infected too. In engineering, the chief engineer lady and this dude are both called away by the captain, but it's clear that it's just Wesley's recording as he walks in and infects this dude, convincing him to leave him in charge. The chief engineer reports to the bridge only for Picard to tell her to get her ass back to engineering, and then Wesley's recording goes shipwide, declaring him to be acting captain. Picard is outraged. Wesley keeps the intoxicated engineering team out with a repulsor beam, but lets the deputy chief back in when he swears loyalty to him. Trying to regain control, Picard contacts Yar, who sounds like she's having sexy times, so he orders Data to go and get her and drag her to sickbay. When he gets to her quarters, Yar is sporting underboob and a single curl. Gee, I wonder why that fashion statement never caught on. And she spins him some sob story about being abandoned when she was little. She then asks if he's anatomically functional, and when he says he is, she drags him off to her bedroom. Riker reports that Wesley has cut out the engines, and then Troy comes up talking nonsense and groping him, and then he stupidly touches her and carries her to sickbay. Beverly administers the cure to Geordi, which doesn't work, and when Riker brings Troy in, he gets Beverly's attention by weirdly touching her neck, because tapping her on the shoulder or just saying her name would have been too easy. Great! Now not only is she infected, but the cure is useless. However, she does finally establish that physical contact is the cause. Picard tries to reason with Wesley, but he enthusiastically hangs up on him, and the star they're in proximity to starts to collapse. But with no engines, they're in deep shit. Data gets to the bridge, seemingly infected, even though he's not human, followed by Beverly, who wants to see Picard privately. She fights trying to come onto him, and then Picard makes a really fucking weird noise. But he's not infected. Or is he? I mean, he's sweating and acting weird, but he hasn't been touched, and we didn't get that distinct hissing noise to indicate transferal of the virus. Worf reports all this to Riker, and then whoa, the star just exploded! With a big hunk of rock heading towards them and the engine still down, the engineering lady manages to get back into engineering, but she can't replace all the engine chips in time. So Wesley suggests Data, who is rushed down there and under the promise of it being a game, starts replacing them. However, he says the game will take 1 minute longer than it will take for the rock to hit them, but Wesley thinks he can turn the tractor beam into a repulsor beam, and Beverly manages to adapt the original formula into a working cure. Wesley whatevers himself into a solution by pushing the Enterprise off the other ship and further away from the rock, buying them the time they need for Data to finish his game and for the engines to kick in and get them to safety. With everyone back to normal, Tasha tells Data it never happened, and Picard is like, good job everyone. Okay, so honestly, this was better than the ratings indicated. The first half of the episode was a really solid retelling of the original story, and Geordi especially was a touching tale of wanting to be like everyone else. There were many repeated elements such as the collapsing celestial body, everyone being locked out of engineering while someone demanded ice cream and cut out the engines, someone coming on to another character, and not having enough time to restart the engines. I feel like it was a homage rather than a remake, and they did it well, right up until Data boinked Tasha Yar and it started to lose traction. It lacked the focus on infected minor characters which the original had, and instead had every single main character infected except for Worf, who didn't really do anything. And even though Riker was infected, he didn't seem affected other than being a bit sweaty, so they would have been better off having Troy infect Beverly directly and skip Riker altogether. Also, Data being infected makes no sense because Beverly said the cause was something to do with molecules being removed from the bloodstream, which is not applicable to Data, and his intoxication was just too damn goofy. I think combining that with Picard's unexplained infection and Wesley being the one who saves the day really weakens the credibility of the second half of the episode, and explains why it's so panned. The overall failure of this episode scrapped Roddenberry's plans to remake more episodes from the original series, which I think is a shame. So there you have it. That was The Naked Now. If there's an episode of Star Trek you'd like me to cover, then pop it down in the comments or come say hi on social media. If you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button, it really does mean a lot, or consider subscribing if you want to be assimilated into my channel. Thank you so much for watching, I'll speak to you soon, and live long and prosper.